Hello there, welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha Television. India is all set to get its 14th president today. In exactly an hour from now, counting of ballots will begin, and by around 5 in the evening, the name of the next occupant of the Rashtrapati Bhavan would be known. That's the big story of the day. That and much more in the next 30 minutes. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor, and here are the headlines. Counting in presidential polls to be held from 11 a.m. today. Contest between Ramnath Kovind and Meera Kumar. Results likely by 5 p.m. Discussion on lynching and atrocities on minorities and Dalits in the upper house. Ruling party MPs refute allegations that perpetrators were given a free hand. United States lists Pakistan among nations that provide safe havens to terrorists, says India continues to be victim of attacks by Pakistan-based terrorists. T.R. Zeliang is the new Chief Minister of Nagaland, has to prove majority on or before 22nd of July. Shurozeli Rizitsu fails to face a floor test on Wednesday. And India to take on a six-time champion Australia in the second semi-final of the ICC Women's World Cup in England. Must win for India to reach the final. Our top story, counting for the presidential election will be held today. Now, the counting of ballots will begin at around 11 a.m. and the results would be known by 5 in the evening. Now, according to Lok Sabha Secretary General Anup Mishra, who is also the returning officer of the election, first the ballot box of Parliament House would be opened, and then the ballot boxes received from the states would be counted in alphabetical basis. The votes would be counted on 4 separate tables, and there would be 8 rounds of counting. Now, close to 99% voting was recorded for India's next president. The numbers are stacked in favor of the ruling coalition's nominee Ramnath Kovind over the opposition's candidate Meera Kumar. Now, the opposition's presidential candidate Meera Kumar has termed the contest as a battle of ideologies. This is what her son had to tell us ahead of the counting for the top constitutional post today.
वो विनाश करने की लड़ाई थी जो इस देश में अभिभावी हैं और इस देश को अंधकार की तरफ ढकेल रहे हैं। अब हमने तो कॉलेजियम को अपील किया है, उनकी आत्मा को की आवाज़ को अपील किया है। वो बेहतर जानते हैं, वो बेहतर समझते हैं।
All right, so India is going to get its 14th president today, and the counting of votes will begin at 11 in the morning. That is about an hour from now, and the results are expected to be declared by 5 in the evening. Now, the procedure is that the ballot box of Parliament House would be opened, and then the ballot boxes that have been received from various states that would be counted, and that too on an alphabetical basis. The seals of the ballot boxes will be opened, and that will be done in the presence of representatives of the two candidates, Ramnath Kovind and Meera Kumar, as well as the observers of the Election Commission. Remember, the 17th of July, we saw the elections for electing India's next president. Close to 99% voting was recorded. Now, 32 polling stations were set up, including one in Parliament House, and rest polling stations were set up in various states. Now, a total of 4,896 voters, that is MLAs and MPs, are eligible to cast their ballots. Now, as far as electoral arithmetic goes, now Kovind has a distinct advantage over his rival. Even parties like the JDU and the Biju Janata Dal that are otherwise not allied with the Bharatiya Janata Party had decided to vote for him. So it is a crucial day. India will get its 14th president today. And as far as the numbers go, Ramnath Kovind is said to be India's next president. All right, my colleague is joining us from outside Mr. Kovind's residence. I guess Pranav is joining us. Pranav, a very good morning. Now, close to 99% of voting was recorded for electing India's next president. I would like to know what is the mood outside Mr. Kovind's residence, because as far as the arithmetic goes, the numbers are clearly stacked in favor of him.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, and it is almost certain that the next president of India is going to be Ramnath Kovind. We all know that this is not a direct election, and it depends on the numbers of the political parties. As far as numbers are concerned, NDA is clearly ahead than UPA. Not only NDA but other parties, those parties who are not part of NDA, they have also supported Ramnath Kovind's candidature. If you talk about TRS, YSR, Congress, BJD, AIA, DMK, and after the massive victory in Uttar Pradesh recently, BJP's numbers have gone up, and now we can say that Ramnath Kovind's victory is almost certain. So he is going to be the next president of India. But we'll have to wait, because the counting will begin from 11, and after that the results will be coming out, and the true picture will be coming out after 11, when the counting will begin.
Pranav, now Mr. Kovind, who is a Dalit, is a farmer's son, and his humble background was something that was really stressed upon by all the BJP leaders as well as the NDA leaders as well. So we'd like to know from you what is happening outside his residence, because in his native village there were prayers being held. There was a very mood of elation there. But outside his residence in New Delhi, what is the mood like? All right. All right, there seems to be a problem with the connection there. We'll get back to Pranav. Let's go across to my colleague Vishal Daya, who's joining us live from Parliament now. Vishal, as far as the procedural part of this is concerned, now the ballot, we understand the ballot box of Parliament House would first be opened, and then the ballot boxes received from the states would be counted. All that is going to happen in about an hour from now?
Indeed, at 11 a.m. exactly the counting process will begin, Aishwarya, and as you pointed out, first the box containing the votes of the members of Parliament who exercise their right to vote in the Parliament House on 17th. Those votes will be counted, and then in an alphabetic order, all the votes of the ballot boxes received from respective state assemblies will be counted. So this entire process is not going to take much of a time, because the number of total votes in the Electoral College was around 4,100, and almost 99% voting has taken place in the presidential election. So to count those votes, it seems by the time the second half of the day begins, we will have a clear picture emerging as to who is the winner. And before 5 p.m., the returning officer for this election, that is the Secretary General of Lok Sabha, will announce the winning candidate, and then go to the winning candidate's residence and hand over the winning certificate, winner's certificate in this particular election, formally announcing as to who will become the next president of India.
All right. Thank you so much, Vishal, for all those updates there. We'll keep coming back to you through the day today. Let's go across to my colleague Pranav, who is joining us from outside Mr. Kovind's residence. Pranav, I was asking you beforehand that, as far as Mr. Kovind is concerned, he's a farmer's son, and his humble backgrounds was something that is, stressed by BJP leaders when they had nominated his name for the president post. So what is the mood outside his residence, considering the fact that at his native village there were prayers being held, there was a mood of jubilation, but outside his residence in New Delhi, what is the mood like?
Some leaders are coming and they've started giving him greetings also, and already they have congratulated him, because it is almost certain, as I told you, that his win is almost certain. And as far as his nomination for the post of president is concerned, we all know and we saw the campaigning of both Ramnath Kovind and Meera Kumar also, that it was a very dignified campaign in fact, and both candidates Ramnath Kovind and Meera Kumar, they said it should not be seen as Dalit versus Dalit war, but it should be seen as ideological war. And we know that Ramnath Kovind also, he comes from Dalit community, and Meera Kumar also comes from Dalit community. And after both the candidates from UP and NDA, when their names were declared, NDA and UPA said that that this is only it is should not be seen as Dalit versus Dalit contest. In fact, it should be seen as an ideological war. And as far as Ramnath Kovind's background is concerned, he was a very senior leader in BJP, twice Rajya Sabha member, and he was the head of Dalit Morcha in BJP, and he's been working for many years in organization, in BJP's organization, and we saw that not only the NDA partners, but JDU also.
Yes, indeed.
JDU attended the meeting of opposition. JDU also decided to support Ramnath Kovind. So that shows that he is unanimously getting support from other parties also.
Absolutely. So Mr. Kovind is a leader who has been in fact liked by leaders cutting across party lines, and as far as numbers go, it seems that he is all set to become the 14th president of India. Thank you so much, Pranav, for all those updates there. Let's move on in the bulletin now. A short duration discussion on the reported increase in the incidence of lynching and atrocities on minorities and Dalits was initiated in the Rajya Sabha on Wednesday. But the opposition alleged that the perpetrators of violence were given a free hand. The government, however, urged the opposition to refrain from giving religious colour to such incidents.
Leading the opposition charge against the government on the recent mob lynching, leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Nabi Azad, claimed that members of the ruling dispensation were involved in the violence in the name of cow protection.
ये इसलिए किया जा रहा कि एक इसमें किसी भी विपक्ष की पार्टी को फायदा नहीं हो रहा है इस लिंचिंग से। एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी है, रूलिंग पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, जिसको ये फायदा हो रहा है। This is just to harvest the political harvesting के लिए हो रहा।
Naresh Agrawal of the Samajwadi Party said that the cattle transport suffered a debilitating blow due to cow vigilantism. Sitaram Yechuri of the CPM demanded stern action by the centre against the hooliganism of private armies in the name of cow protection.
क्योंकि खरीदार कोई है नहीं, गरीब आदमी उन गाय को जो दूध नहीं दे सकता उसको पाले कैसे? सरकार ने कोई व्यवस्था नहीं करी उनके खाने पीने की। आज गांव के किसानों के लिए नील गाय, वन गाय और छुट्टा गाय एक इतनी बड़ी समस्या हो गई है।
Ask for a ban on these vigilante groups of all natures, whether it is moral policing, whether it's cow vigilantism, who are resorting to such actions. These groups must be banned by central order. And that is the demand my party would like to make to the government.
Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi refuted the opposition's charge while denying that no action was taken against the perpetrators involved in the lynching incidents.
जो ताकतें की ये सोचती हैं कि हम इस तरह के फैब्रिकेटेड इश्यूज के माध्यम से इस तरह के आपराधिक घटनाओं को एक बड़ा बात का बतंगड़ बना करके इस तरह की आपराधिक और जघन्य आपराधिक घटनाओं को सांप्रदायिकता का रूप दे करके मोदी सरकार के एजेंडे को नुकसान पहुंचाएंगे। ये उनकी गलतफहमी है।
Earlier, the issue of cow vigilantism also resonated during question hour.
एक नई परंपरा चल गई है, एक नई व्यवस्था इस देश में आ गई है, जहां नफरत के बीज बोने के कारण एक टारगेटेड भीड़ तंत्र द्वारा मॉब लिंचिंग हो रही है।
Minister of State for Home Affairs Hans Raj Ahir informed the House that the government had issued an advisory to the state governments to file FIRs in all incidents happening in the name of cow protection.
लेकिन गौवंश को लेकर जो घटनाएं हो रही है ये बहुत दुखद है, इसको तुरंत रोकना चाहिए। ऐसे गौवंश के नाम से जो हंगामा करते हैं उन पे कार्रवाई करने के लिए उन्होंने बार-बार अपील की है और आपने कहा उसी अनुसार फिर मैं दोहराता हूं कि होम मिनिस्ट्री से एडवाइजरी निकल चुकी है। सम्माननीय राजनाथ सिंह ने उसके बारे में आदेश दिया है।
Dissatisfied with the government's response, Samajwadi Party members trooped into the well of the House, prompting the chair to adjourn the House for 10 minutes.
House is adjourned for 10 minutes.
With inputs from Vishal Daya and Panchanan Mishra, Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And Union Cabinet has approved a draft bill to replace ordinances that were promulgated to introduce the goods and services tax in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, earlier this month, the centre had promulgated ordinances to make the central GST and integrated GST applicable to the states. The bill will be introduced in the current session of Parliament. The Cabinet also approved the sale of government's stake in Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited to Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, or the ONGC. The government also tweaked guidelines to broaden the scope of a fund to help overseas Indians in times of emergency and distress. The Cabinet also decided to revise the guidelines for the Indian Community Welfare Fund. Now, the revised guidelines are now being made broad-based to expand the scope of welfare measures that can be extended through the fund. The Union Cabinet also cleared a 15% hike in salaries for the public sector company employees. On to political situation in Nagaland, and Naga People's Front leader T.R. Zelingwa on Wednesday took oath as the new Chief Minister of Nagaland. Now, this comes 5 months after he resigned from the Chief Minister's post. Governor P.B. Acharya administered him the oath of office. The governor has asked him to prove his majority on or before 22nd of July. Meanwhile, within hours of taking the oath, the NPF expelled Zeling for 6 years for anti-party activities. Zeling, however, maintained that he would continue to remain the NPF leader in the House. Zeling was appointed as the Chief Minister by the Governor as the incumbent Chief Minister, Shurozeli Lizitsu, and his supporters failed to turn up in the Assembly to face a floor test on Wednesday. This led the Speaker to adjourn the House sine die. Lizitsu is facing a rebellion from his party MLAs, which prompted Governor P.B. Acharya to direct the Speaker to conduct a floor test. Interestingly, T.R. Zeling had resigned from the Chief Minister's post in February this year after party legislators withdrew their support over protests against local polls. Time to take a very short break here. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
झांझुआ राजपूत घराने से हूँ और मेरे खानदान की रगों में हमेशा ही फौजी खून रहा है। उस वक्त मैं हिंदुस्तान को एक अंग्रेज की नजर से देखता था। अंग्रेजों का नमक खाया हमने, उसे खारिज कर दूं मैं? लेकिन जब नजर साफ हुई तो मेरी समझ में आ गया, आजादी के लिए लड़ने वाली अगर कोई फौज है तो उसका नाम है आजाद हिंद फौज।
नमस्ते, मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा खुशी हो रही है ये देखकर कि आपका रिस्पांस बहुत अच्छा रहा है ट्रेलर के लिए, और आप सबको बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कि आपने इतनी शुभकामनाएं भेजी हैं।
Welcome back after the break. Now, a 9-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court will continue hearing arguments to determine if the right to privacy is a fundamental right under the Constitution. On Wednesday, the court observed that right to privacy is not absolute. The court also asked the advocate representing the petitioners on what privacy entails. Justice J. Chandrachud said that every right to make a decision may not be a part of the right to privacy.
Arguing for the petitioner, senior advocate Gopal Subramaniam initiated the hearing, stating that the right to life and liberty are pre-existing natural rights. Pointing out that liberty is the fundamental value of our constitution, he said that life and liberty are natural existing rights in our constitution. The senior advocate then asked if liberty can be experienced without privacy, and can liberty be exercised without privacy, at least with regard to all the fundamental rights of the constitution. Subramaniam pointed out that some preambular values are meant to be read with fundamental rights. Further, the preamble contains expressions from the American Constitution and continental countries. The 9-member bench is dealing with the limited issue of the right to privacy, while matters challenging the Aadhaar scheme itself will be referred back to a smaller bench. The bench, headed by Chief Justice J.S. Kheher, has Justices J. Chelameshwar, S.A. Bobde, R.K. Agarwal, Rohinton Fali Nariman, Abhay Manohar Sapre, D.Y. Chandrachud, Sanjay Kishan Kaul and S. Abdul Nazir. The Apex Court had set up the Constitution Bench on Tuesday after a 5-judge bench referred the matter to a larger bench. The 5-judge Constitution Bench, headed by the CJI, was confronted with 2 past verdicts delivered by larger benches in 1950 and 1962, held that the right to privacy was not a fundamental right. The Apex Court said the 9-judge bench will deal with the limited issue of right to privacy and the correctness of the 2 judgments. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's get you the weather update. Heavy rains and floods continue to wreak havoc in several parts of the country. Now, in Assam, 4 persons died in floods, where the overall situation improved slightly, even as several parts of this country received rains. 2 persons lost their lives in Moregaon district and 1 died each in Barpeta and Salmara district. Now, with this, the death toll has gone up to 73, including 8 deaths in Guwahati. Around 5 lakh people were affected by floods across 14 districts in the state. Meanwhile, flood-affected districts of Odisha are limping back to normal. Train services have been restored between Raigarh and Tiruvali with some restrictions 3 days after floods disrupted the rail movement. Now, as many as 28,000 people in 70 villages have been affected in Raigarh district. Relief materials reached the Kond tribes in Niyangiri Hills. However, the tribal group Dongoria continue to remain cut off from the rest of the country. And light rainfall was witnessed in parts of national capital as well, which led to an increase in humidity, while the maximum temperature was recorded at 38.4 degrees Celsius. Light to moderate rainfall occurred in many areas across Rajasthan as well. Most places in Telangana also continue to receive heavy downpour. Heavy rainfall and thunderstorm also occurred at Vidarbha, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and the Met Department has predicted heavy rainfall during the next 24 hours as well. On to some international news. Now, the United States has listed Pakistan among the nations that provide safe havens to terrorists to operate. It also stated that India continued to be a victim of the attacks, including by Pakistan-based terrorists and Maoist insurgents. Now, in its annual country report on terrorism, the U.S. State Department said that terror outfits like the Haqqani Network, Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed continue to operate, train, organize and fundraise in Pakistan. Now, giving the example of LET's chief Hafiz Saeed, the report said that the UN-designated terrorists continue to address large rallies in Pakistan. This despite Pakistan proscribing him under Anti-Terrorism Act in February 2017. The report said that while Pakistani security forces undertook operations against the groups that conducted attacks within Pakistan, such as Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, it did not take sufficient action against the extremely focused groups that continue to exist in the country like Afghan Taliban, Jaish-e-Mohammed and LET. The line taken by the US is an extension from the joint statement that was issued after the summit-level talks between US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi during PM Modi's US visit in June this year. Now, in a joint statement, Modi and Trump had asserted that the terrorist safe havens should be rooted out from every part of the world. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari on Wednesday presented the Lokmat Awards to selected parliamentarians. The event was attended by former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari, NDA's Vice Presidential candidate Venkaiah Naidu. Now, Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge and other top leaders also attended the ceremony. Senior BJP leader L.K. Advani and JDU's Rajya Sabha member Sharad Yadav were presented with the Lifetime Achievement Awards for their exemplary contribution in Parliament. Other parliamentarians, including Meenakshi Lekhi, Sitaram Yechuri, Jaya Bachchan, were also honoured in various categories.
It is the duty of the elected representatives of the people of India to prevent erosion of the vitality and spirit of democracy that is the lifeblood of our parliament.
The felicitation is to give inspiration to others to follow the great ideals set up by these great people. The parliamentary system in the entire world has proven to be the best. And I am happy to say that our system, Indian parliamentary system, is now recognized and respected and appreciated worldwide.
On to cricket, and India will take on six-time champion Australia in the second semi-finals of the ICC Women's World Cup at Derby in England today. India have a poor record against Australia, having lost 34 out of the 42 games that the two teams have played so far. The match is important for India as if it wins, that it will ensure its entry into the summit clash against hosts England. The match will also provide the Indians a chance to avenge their 8-wicket loss to Australia just a week ago in Bristol. The match will begin at 3 p.m. That's all in this edition of news. Thanks for watching.